everyone. I would just like to take a brief moment to apologize to all of you that I'm not here to present my speech in person. I'm at this very moment playing in a conference match for the Macalester women's tennis team. Go Scots! So thank you to Mike Porter and the committee for accommodating me and letting me record this speech in advance. But before I begin, I would just like to say thank you to a few people. To my family back home and my friends, thank you for being supportive of my growth as a student, for picking me up when I stumbled along my way, and for helping me to make connections I would have never thought possible. To Rising Minds, and specifically Courtney Cronin, thank you for creating an organization that has exposed me to the field of sustainable development, and for inspiring me to work in a field that leaves me feeling fulfilled. I am in awe of your dedication and brilliance. Thank you for letting me be part of your circle. To the Facilities Office, Sustainability Office, and the Sustainability Network, thank you for providing me with the space to reflect on sustainability and the opportunities to put my ideas into practice. To my professors, specifically those in the Environmental Studies Department and Political Science Department, thank you for challenging me daily and forcing me to question my own beliefs. And just when I thought I knew what those were, thank you for making me redefine them again. To Professor Louisa Bradmiller, thank you for providing me with direction and advice as I navigated my time at Macalester. To Professor Polly Fodke, thank you for offering me constant guidance and opening my eyes to a world of environmental injustices. And to Professor Christy Manning, thank you for supporting me in all of my endeavors and for making me reflect on who I am and the work that I do. You are truly a force to be reckoned with, and Macalester is all the better for having you here with us. Vidas sostenibles, sustainable lives. The term rolls off my tongue and is repeated by the Guatemalan madres de casa that surround me. It is only the second day of my volunteer program in Los Altos, Guatemala with Rising Minds, but I can tell by the blank expressions on the faces in the room that for now, sustainability is an empty word. But as we begin to discuss how the development of community gardens will spur the local economy, develop reliable community-based assets, and improve the health of these women's families, the word takes on a new meaning. The madres repeat the word with fervor. Vidas sostenibles, a chance to utilize an information exchange across cultures, address immediate issues within a local community, and empower female community members. When I reflect on my experiences like the one I've just described, I feel that I'm able to piece together my stories with a common thread: global citizenship. I see global citizenship as the incorporation of a broad, culturally and environmentally conscious worldview that appreciates the interconnectedness of our global society and prompts exchange, awareness, and engagement. From my time at Macalester and my experiences off campus, I've come to first and foremost acknowledge that global citizenship demands the recognition of every individual's right to dignity and self-determination. A key aspect of this understanding is, in my opinion, the ethical responsibility of individuals, organizations, and countries to mutually respect and value our relationship with the natural world. I firmly believe that conflicts and crises today, particularly in regards to the environment, transcend political and geographic borders, because we are tied to the development and status of our global community. The sooner we recognize how closely linked we are as individuals to one another, the more likely we are to develop a truly just and equitable way of life. My inspiration and motivation for embracing my definition of global citizenship was initially spurred by my experience with Rising Minds. A nonprofit organization based in both the U.S. and Guatemala, Rising Minds has one key mission: to inspire locally committed and globally active leaders by personalizing complex global issues. As a volunteer for their sustainable development initiatives, and now as a chapter coordinator here at Macalester, I've seen firsthand how education and action go hand in hand. Speaking to Elena Rosa about the value of vegetables for their children's diet was one thing, but being able to provide them with the seeds and manpower to build their own community gardens was something entirely different. Even more importantly, all of my interactions with community members were based on mutual respect and exchange. I was working directly with local leaders to address community-identified needs, and every step of the process was based on decision-making that was both environmentally conscious and replicable for future efforts. During this time, I worked with community members to create environmental education lesson plans for schools, designed sustainable playground blueprints with students, and implemented community gardens with women in the neighborhoods. My experience with this organization captures the essence of my feelings regarding global citizenship. We can all be agents of action and engagement when we embrace the interconnectedness of our global society in both environmental and cultural contexts. In addition to working outside of the U.S., I have been fortunate enough to see how local action can take place at a global level. During the summer of 2013, I was selected as Macalester's Environmental Justice Research Fellow for the University of Maryland School of Law. A component of this experience was my participation in the 2013 International Union for Conservation and Nature Colloquium in New Zealand. Attorneys, professors, and law students from across the globe gathered together in a whirlwind of discussions regarding a common theme: environmental justice. I was informed of water licensing conflicts in South Africa, hydropower and indigenous land rights disputes in Southeast Asia, and hydraulic fracking controversies back home in New York. There was a shared feeling of despair and concern in addressing hundreds of environmental issues, but throughout the colloquium there was a shared ideal. Together, we're starting the conversations that are going to put real plans into actions. Overwhelmed in awe of the conflicts that were presented, my experience at the conference deepened my interest in environmental justice and the capacity for environmental law to serve as a mode to achieve equal justice and equal protection under the law for all. But it is one thing to learn about awareness and justice and inclusion, and an entirely different thing altogether to put these ideas into practice. My understanding of how to best engage local communities has been influenced greatly by my work at Macalester. One of the forms through which I put my definition of global citizenship into action was through the Community Climate Change Conversations project that I took part in with Professor Upali Thadki and Professor Christy Manning. Working with a group of research students, we coordinated efforts with the City of St. Paul and the Science Museum of Minnesota to sponsor a series of community forums regarding climate change adaptation planning. During this time, we developed a model for inclusive community deliberation that engaged racially, ethnically, and socioeconomically diverse citizens to consider how extreme weather will impact their lives. Watching as residents made the connections between climate change and their own communities, I was inspired by their calls to action. We've got to do something, they vowed. We have to be prepared before all of this starts hitting. The project was a defining experience for me because it emulated a model for engaging local citizenship on global issues. My exposure to this research opened my eyes to the critical need for both education and action on the part of local communities to solve large-scale problems. Without both, the impacts will be minimal. But being a global citizen also means recognizing needs in your immediate community, because global citizenship does not require a passport and a new destination. Some of my most profound experiences with global citizenship have occurred when I have been able to make the global local. My work as both Zero Waste Coordinator and Sustainability Student Network Coordinator here at Macalester have forced me to grapple with whether thinking globally and acting locally can make a real difference. I've tried to raise awareness on our campus not only about the benefits of waste reduction, but also the real impact of our current waste processes. Because the reality is that low-income populations, populations of color, and disenfranchised communities are disproportionately impacted by environmental hazards from landfills and incinerators. Landfills and incinerators that are burning our waste, but because we are distanced from this problem, it's not really a problem at all to us. Working within the Sustainability Network, we've started conversations to engage sustainability workers and students in conversations about local environmental justice. But we are just one small campus in a sea of unsustainable practices. I do not know if the changes we are making at Macalester will really make a difference. But working on these issues with so many dedicated students and staff has made me appreciate the ability of fighting for a cause when there is no guaranteed outcome. During my time as a Macalester student, I've come to appreciate the theories and practices surrounding sustainable global engagement. As a student in the Environmental Studies Department, you are expected to understand and appreciate an environmental context through an interdisciplinary approach. My time in this department has been a gift, because it has forced me to embrace disciplines I would have otherwise shied away from, and challenged me to think critically and analytically about my normative understandings of the environment. When I reflect on my understanding of global citizenship, I think back to my time in Professor Upali Thadki's Sustainable Development and Global Futures course. I entered the classroom on my first day, ready to preach my understandings of development and instruct students on the models they should be supporting. I soon found, however, that I was way out of my league. My peers, whose experiences differed completely from mine, immediately challenged my claims, and I learned rather quickly that you cannot simply discredit the World Bank on principle alone. For me, my time in that classroom is a representation of my growth as a student here at Macalester. I entered this campus, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to battle the capitalist systems that were destroying my environment. I prepare to leave now as, I hope, a critically and analytically engaged academic who is conscious of the diversity of disciplines and communities that I am a part of. My dream is to continue my endeavors in environmental justice and sustainability into the future, embracing the aspects of social consciousness and global engagement that have been fostered by my Macalester education. My hope is to pursue a career in sustainable development policymaking efforts that accurately reflect the realities of community needs. Regardless of the organization or institution that I find myself in, I plan to maintain my understanding of environmental and cultural interconnectedness that began here at Macalester. Thank you.